Back on Azuria, preparations began for the formal bonding ceremony. Kate struggled to learn the complex customs of her new home, while factions formed within the royal court, those who accepted the queen's choice, and those who plotted against its zenith. The guard captain surprisingly became Kate's ally and protector. "Your presence has divided our world, human," he told her one evening. "But perhaps we needed dividing. The crack in the crystal is how the light gets in." Kate found herself in a luxurious suite within the royal wing, surrounded by alien comforts that felt strange against her human senses. The bed was formed from living crystal that adjusted to her body temperature. The lighting responded to her emotions, sometimes too accurately for comfort. She missed simple things like the smell of coffee and the feel of cotton sheets. Mira became her reluctant teacher, showing Kate how to navigate the complex social hierarchy of the Azurian court. The attendant remained formal, but over time, her coldness thawed. "First lesson, never show weakness," she instructed Kate. "The nobles will interpret it as a flaw in the queen's judgment. Second lesson, learn to walk like an Azurian. Your human gait marks you as an outsider." Kate spent hours practicing the gliding walk of the Azurians, but her human anatomy made perfect imitation impossible. This body was not meant for this life, she thought during one frustrating session. "But I have to try." Queen Lyra was often busy with matters of state, but made time each evening to be with Kate. They shared stories of their worlds, finding unexpected common ground despite their different biologies. "On Earth we have a saying," the Queen confessed during one such evening. "I find it beautiful that your species develops so many different ways to express the same truths." Kate taught Lyra about human music, playing recordings from Earth. The Queen was especially moved by classical compositions. "My people have perfect pitch, but our music lacks something yours." As she admitted, Kate wondered if that something was pain, the awareness of limited time that gave human creations their urgency. The first formal event Kate attended as the Queen's chosen was a diplomatic reception. Representatives from 12-star systems came to witness the anomaly of a human royal consort. Kate wore traditional Azurian garments modified for her form, the living fabric adjusting uncomfortably against her skin. She felt the stares, the whispers as she walked beside Queen Lyra. "Into the grand hall, I feel like a zoo animal," she whispered to the Queen, who squeezed her hand in response. "Stand tall, my Kate. They fear what they do not understand. Show them there is nothing to fear." The ambassador from the Vrel hegemony, a species of mantis-like beings, refused to acknowledge Kate directly, instead speaking as if she were not present. The Queen noticed this slight. Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "Ambassador Krell," she said coolly, "you address my chosen, or you address no one at all." Tension broke when Kate spoke, using the ceremonial Vrel greeting she had memorized specifically for this occasion. The ambassador chittered in surprise before bowing lower than protocol required. "The human has studied our ways. Most unexpected." By the end of the evening, Kate had won over 3 of the 12 ambassadors. It was a start. Deeper in the palace, Vex met with others who shared his concerns. "A human cannot be allowed to stand at the Queen's side." One noble hissed, "It diminishes us all. In the eyes of the galaxy, we have maintained our genetic purity for 50,000 years." Vex nodded. "We must act before the bonding ceremony. Once completed, it cannot be undone." Their conspiracy grew in the shadows, while Kate continued her education. In royal matters, she learned the history of the Azurian Empire, how they had once been warriors who conquered dozens of worlds before evolving into a society that valued beauty and stability above all else. They have been unchanged for too long. She realized one day while studying ancient texts, that's why Lyra chose me. Not just for Earth, but for her own people. The Queen found Kate in the library, surrounded by historical documents. "You learn quickly," she observed. "But some knowledge cannot be found in our records." Kate looked up. "What do you mean?" The Queen sat beside her. "Our history as we tell it is incomplete. There was a time long ago when my ancestors faced extinction. Our perfect forms were failing us. Our birth rates declined. Our bodies grew too specialized, too perfect. We sought outside genetics to save ourselves." Kate understood immediately. "So, I am not the first alien to be chosen." Lyra shook her head. No, but it has been 5,000 years since the last time. And never a species so different as yours. The records were altered to preserve the illusion of purity. This revelation changed everything for Kate. She wasn't just a diplomatic tool or an exotic curiosity. She was part of a solution to a problem the Azurians wouldn't even acknowledge. Meanwhile, Earth prepared for unprecedented change. Samantha Wells assembled a team of xenobiologists, anthropologists, and diplomatic experts to prepare for closer relations with the Azurians. Our position in the galactic community just changed overnight, she told them. We need to be ready. The first assassination attempt came 3 weeks later. A servant brought Kate a drink laced with toxins that would have dissolved her from within had Mira not knocked it from her hand. The attendant had grown protective of the human despite her initial reservations. They will try again, she warned. It is only a matter of time. Zenith increased security around Kate, assigning his most loyal guards to her protection. The captain himself took personal responsibility for her safety during public appearances. I do not fully understand the Queen's choice, he admitted to Kate as they walked the palace grounds. But I have sworn to protect her will. And now, that includes you. Kate looked at the alien sky with its 3 moons and felt a wave of homesickness wash over her. I never asked for any of this, she said quietly. I was just doing my job. Representing Earth, Zenith nodded. Sometimes the universe has larger plans for us than we have for ourselves. The day of the bonding ceremony approached, bringing with it increasing tension throughout the palace. Kate was fitted for ceremonial robes made from a rare material that shifted colors with her moods. The royal tailor muttered complaints as she worked. Human proportions are all wrong, she grumbled. No elegance. Mira, who oversaw the fitting, silenced the tailor with a look. The Queen's chosen deserves your respect, she said firmly. Kate smiled gratefully at the attendant who had become something close to a friend. That night, Queen Lyra shared a secret with Kate. In my private chambers, she said, leading the human through hidden passages deep within the palace walls, there is something you must see before we are bonded. They entered a circular room where a pool of silver liquid glowed with inner light. The memory of Azuria. Lyra explained our collective history and knowledge preserved across generations. Only the royal family may access it. I wish to show you our true past, so you understand what is at stake. Kate approached the pool cautiously. What do I do? Touch the surface and open your mind, the Queen instructed, their fingers intertwined as they reached toward the liquid together. The moment Kate's fingertips broke the surface, images flooded her consciousness. She saw the ancient Azurians, not the elegant beings they were now, but hardier, more adaptable creatures. She witnessed their rise to power, their wars of conquest, and then the gradual change as they evolved toward beauty and perceived perfection. Then came the crisis. Birth rates plummeted. Genetic disorders appeared with increasing frequency. The species faced slow extinction until a queen, much like Lyra, made a controversial decision to introduce outside genetics. The resulting hybrid vigor saved the species, but the truth was hidden, erased from public records, replaced with myths of purity. Kate gasped, pulling her hand back. The liquid clung to her fingers briefly before releasing them. You rewrote your history, she said, stunned. Lyra nodded with sadness in her eyes. It was deemed necessary for stability. But the time for such deceptions has passed. My people face the same crisis now, though few will admit it. We have become too focused on perfection, too resistant to change. If we continue this path, we will fade away within 1,000 years. Beautiful and unchanging until the end. Kate understood now why she had been chosen, not just for diplomatic advantage, but for biological necessity. Her human DNA, with its adaptability and resilience, could help save an entire species. Meanwhile, Vex and his conspirators finalized their plans. We strike during the ceremony itself, the counselor told his allies. When the ritual bonding is attempted, the human physiology will reject the process, causing a moment of vulnerability. Then we move. One of the younger nobles looked uncertain. What about after? Even if we prevent the bonding, the Queen has still chosen. The human Vex smiled coldly. If the bonding fails publicly, it will be seen as a sign that the universe itself rejects this union. The queen will have no choice but to select a proper Azurian mate. The morning of the ceremony arrived. The palace was decorated with luminous flowers that sang softly when touched. Dignitaries from across the galaxy assembled to witness this unprecedented union. Rumors and speculation ran wild. Kate prepared in her chambers, helped by Mira, who wove glowing threads through her hair. "Your world sent representatives," she informed. Kate. They arrived this morning. The human delegation has been given places of honor at the Queen's request. The thought of seeing other humans after weeks among aliens filled Kate with unexpected emotion. This was bigger than her personal feelings, she reminded herself. This was about the future of two species. Samantha Wells led the Earth delegation. She met privately with Kate before the ceremony. "How are you really doing?" she asked with genuine concern. "This is quite a situation you found yourself in," Kate smiled wryly. "I never planned to become alien royalty, but there's more happening here than anyone realizes." She explained what she had learned about the Azurian genetic crisis and the Queen's true motives. The president listened carefully. "So this is both a political alliance and a biological necessity. Fascinating." She paused, looking at Kate directly. "Are you sure about this? It's not too late to return to Earth." Kate thought about Lyra, about the connection they had formed. "I'm sure," she said. "It's strange, but I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, across the palace." Queen Lyra also prepared for the ceremony. Her royal attire shimmed with thousands of living gems that responded to her biorhythms. Her closest advisors, except for Vex, who had excused himself, surrounded her with final preparations. "My queen," the chief advisor said carefully, "there is still time to reconsider. This path you have chosen is unprecedented." Lyra fixed him with a stern gaze. "I have accessed the memory of Azuria. I have seen our true history. This path is not unprecedented, merely long forgotten, and it is necessary for our survival." In his private quarters, Vex distributed weapons to his conspirators, special devices that could disrupt the bonding energy. When the ceremony fails, he instructed his followers, "The Queen's Guard will be focused on protecting her. That is when we move. The human must not leave the temple alive." The bells began to ring throughout the palace, signaling the start of the procession. Kate took a deep breath as Mira adjusted her ceremonial robes one final time. "It is time," the attendant said. But her expression showed concern. "Is something wrong?" Kate asked. Mira hesitated, then spoke quickly. "Be careful today. I have heard whispers of discontent. Some do not wish this union to succeed." Before Kate could ask for details, Zenith appeared at the door to escort her to the ceremony. The guard captain looked magnificent in full ceremonial armor, his scales gleaming with protective oils. "The Queen's mate must not be late," he said, offering his arm as they walked through the corridors. Kate noticed the increased security presence. Zenith had positioned his most trusted guards at every junction. "You expect trouble," she said quietly. The captain did not look at her, but his voice was grim. "I expect nothing but prepare for everything." The great temple at the heart of the palace was filled with light as Kate entered. The assembled crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to the human who would become their queen's mate. Kate kept her gaze forward, focused on the crystal altar where Lyra already waited. She did not see Vex and his followers moving into position, their weapons concealed beneath ceremonial robes. She did not notice Mira, slipping away to speak urgently with one of Zenith's lieutenants, but the threads of conspiracy and loyalty were drawing tight around them all as the ceremony began. The temple glowed with ancient light as Kate approached the central altar where Queen Lyra waited. The air thrummed with energy that Kate could feel against her skin like static electricity. The crowd watched in hushed anticipation as human and Azurian stood face to face. Lyra looked ethereal in her ceremonial attire, her blue skin luminescent beneath the crown of state. Her eyes held Kate's, steady and reassuring. The High Priestess of the Eternal Order began the ritual. Her voice echoed throughout the vast chamber. Since the dawn of our ascension, we have practiced the sacred bonding that unites ruler and consort. Today we witness a union unprecedented in living memory. She paused, looking directly at Kate. Different blood, different form, but perhaps the same spirit. Kate felt thousands of eyes upon her, some curious, some hostile, some hopeful. She focused only on Lyra, drawing strength from the Queen's calm presence. The ritual began with the exchange of essences. The priestess presented 2 crystal goblets filled with shimmering liquid. Through this sharing of biological patterns, we begin the journey toward unity. She intoned. Kate took her goblet hesitantly. The liquid inside swirled with colors that shouldn't exist. She had been briefed. On this part of the ceremony, the fluid contained nanoscale biological markers that would prepare her body for the deeper bonding to come. Earth scientists had analyzed it and declared it safe for human consumption, but it was still alien technology. Entering her body, across the temple, Vex watched intently, his hand resting on the concealed disruptor. The human will never survive the bonding, he whispered to his co-conspirator beside him. Her primitive physiology will reject it. And in that moment of crisis, we act. Kate and Lyra drank simultaneously. The liquid burned like ice down Kate's throat, spreading coldness through her limbs. For a moment she feared rejection, that her human body would indeed fail her. But then warmth returned. And with Ardavi, it a strange awareness of Lyra, as if she could sense the Queen's presence even with closed eyes. The priestess nodded approvingly. The first stage is complete. Now we proceed to the soul resonance. Mira, meanwhile, had slipped away from her position. She hurried through a side passage to find Zenith. The captain was monitoring the ceremony from a concealed security station. They planned to disrupt the bonding, she said breathlessly. Vex and his followers. They carry disruptor devices. Zenith's eyes narrowed. How do you know this? I overheard them. Their plan is to kill the human when the confusion starts. The captain immediately dispatched silent commands to his guards through their neural implants. They would need to move carefully to avoid disrupting the sacred ceremony. Back at the altar, the priestess directed Kate and Lyra to place their hands on a pulsing crystal sphere. As your energies merge, the universe itself bears witness to your union. She proclaimed. When their hands touched the sphere, it flared with blinding light. Kate felt a jolt like electricity course through her body. She gasped as foreign sensations flooded her consciousness. She could feel Lyra's emotions, her thoughts, her very essence bleeding into her own mind. Images from the Queen's long life flashed before her eyes. Centuries of experience compressed into moments. For Lyra, the experience was equally overwhelming. The intensity of human emotions. The vibrant, chaotic nature of Kate's mind was both frightening and exhilarating. So much life packed into such a brief existence. So much passion in the crowd. Vex gave the signal. His followers activated their disruptors, small devices designed to interfere with the temple's ancient technology. The crystal sphere between Kate and Lyra began to flicker, its light becoming erratic. Kate felt the connection wavering. Something was wrong. The joining that had begun to form between them was being torn apart. She looked at Lyra in panic. The Queen recognized the interference immediately. Sabotage, she hissed. Through their partial bond, Kate felt Lyra's rage and determination. Zenith and his guards moved swiftly but discreetly through the crowd, identifying conspirators by the energy signatures of their devices. One by one, they neutralized the threats, but Vex himself remained undetected. The priestess struggled to maintain the ritual as the technology faltered around them. The bonding must be completed. She urged, or both participants risk neural damage. Lyra made a decision. In one fluid motion, she pulled Kate close, pressing their foreheads together. Trust me, she whispered. We complete this our way. What followed was not part of any traditional ceremony. The Queen initiated a direct neural connection, bypassing the temple's failing technology. Kate felt Lyra's consciousness flood into her own, no longer mediated by ancient devices, but raw and immediate. The sensation was overwhelming. Kate fought the instinct to pull away, as alien thought patterns intertwined with her own. Through the chaos, she heard Lyra's voice in her mind. Hold on. Find me in the storm. Kate focused on that voice, following it through the maelstrom of merging consciousnesses. She found something solid, a core of identity, that was undeniably Lyra and clung to. In the physical world, the temple lights flickered wildly. Vex saw his opportunity and moved toward the altar, drawing a concealed weapon. But before he could act, Mira appeared, blocking his path. The attendant had no weapon but stood firm. Her eyes blazed with protective fury. Vex hesitated for just a moment. It was enough. Zenith appeared behind him, disarming the counselor with practiced efficiency. "Not today, traitor," the captain growled. At the altar, something extraordinary was happening where the technology had begun to fail. The direct connection between Kate and Lyra grew stronger. The crystal sphere between them, which had been flickering, now stabilized, glowing with new intensity. The light spread, encompassing both figures in a cocoon of energy. The priestess stepped back in awe. "This is not protocol," she murmured, but neither was it heresy. The bonding was proceeding despite the sabotage, perhaps even stronger for having overcome it. Within the shared mind space Kate and Lyra found balance. Neither overwhelmed the other. Instead, their consciousnesses danced together, separate yet connected, learning the rhythms and patterns that made each unique. When the light finally faded, Kate stood, changed. Subtle alterations were visible. In her appearance, her eyes now held flecks of blue that matched Lyra's skin tone. Her movements had become more fluid, almost Azurian in grace. Likewise, the queen showed signs of the exchange. Her expressions were more dynamic, more human. The rigid perfection of her features had softened slightly. The priestess recovered her composure enough to complete the ritual. "By the ancient powers, and in witness of all gathered here, I declare this bonding complete. What the universe has joined, let know. Being separate." The temple erupted in a mixture of gasps, cheers, and murmurs of disbelief. The unprecedented had occurred. A human and an Azurian were now bonded in the most sacred union their society recognized. As Kate and Lyra turned to face the crowd, their hands remained linked. A subtle glow pulsed where their skin touched, visible evidence of the bond they now shared. Vex and his conspirators were discreetly removed from the temple zenith, ensuring that the ceremony would not be further disrupted. This was a political matter now. The public humiliation of noble conspirators would come later. Kate caught sight of the Earth delegation. Samantha Wells stood wide-eyed but smiling. The president gave a subtle nod of approval and, perhaps, "Congratulations, I can feel you," Kate said quietly to Lyra as they processed down the aisle together. "In my mind, like an echo." The queen smiled. "It will become more natural with time. The bond matures and changes as we do. It is a living thing, not a static connection." Kate wondered what this meant for her humanity, for her future. But through the bond, she felt Lyra's reassurance. This was not an ending, but a beginning. A new chapter for both their species. The stars watched in silence as the royal procession moved through the grand hall of the Azurian palace. The Azurian species was known across the galaxy for their breathtaking beauty. Tall, slender forms with skin that shimmered like precious gems under light. Their queen Lyra was the most stunning of all, with skin like polished sapphire and eyes that held the wisdom of 1,000 years. This was the day of the eternal selection, a sacred ritual where the queen would choose her lifelong mate. From suitors across the galaxy, noble warriors from distant systems stood proud in their ceremonial armor. The air buzzed with anticipation as these powerful beings waited to be chosen. Hidden among the crowd stood Kate Adams, a human diplomat sent to represent Earth. She was not a suitor, merely an observer of this historic event. Humans were newcomers to the galactic community, often viewed as primitive and strange by the older species. Kate had honey-brown hair cut short for practicality, and eyes that reflected the forests of her homeland. She stood a full head shorter than most aliens present, feeling awkward and out of place. The trumpet sounded, announcing Queen Lyra. Her entrance silenced the massive hall as she glided forward, on bare feet, her flowing gown of liquid metal catching the light with each step. The queen moved with grace that seemed impossible, as if gravity itself bent to her will. Each suitor bowed deeply as she passed. Queen Lyra walked the line of alien, nobles her expression giving nothing away. Her attendant Mira followed close behind, carrying the sacred crystal crown that would be placed upon the chosen mate. Mira had always been loyal to the queen, though she secretly harbored doubts about this ceremony. These mating rituals were ancient, perhaps too ancient for modern times. The crowd gasped when Queen Lyra passed the last noble suitor without making a selection. This had never happened in recorded history. The queen continued walking, moving, toward the observation area where delegates from minor worlds watched. Kate felt her heart hammer in her chest as the queen approached the human section. She tried to make herself smaller, pushing back against the wall. The queen stopped directly, before her confusion rippled through the crowd. Without hesitation, Queen Lyra extended her hand to Kate. She spoke in a voice that resonated like crystal bells. "I have chosen this human as my mate." Stunned silence filled the hall. The head of the royal, Guard Zenith, stepped forward, his scaled skin flushing crimson with anger. "My queen, this creature is not even a registered suitor. She is a primitive from a world barely capable of interstellar travel. This goes against all tradition." Queen Lyra turned, to face her subjects, her expression serene yet firm. "Traditions evolve, as must we. I have studied all worlds within our reach and found that humans possess something our species lacks, something we need. Their capacity for adaptation and emotional depth is unmatched. Their lives burn briefly yet brightly. I choose this human not despite her humanity, but because of it." Kate stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. She had come to observe an alien ritual, not become part of it. "Your Majesty," she managed to say, "I am honored, but I don't understand." Mira watched with wide eyes, realizing the implications. If the queen took a human mate, it would forge an unprecedented alliance between Earth and the powerful Azurian Empire. It would elevate humanity to a status they had not earned through traditional means. The political ramifications would echo across the galaxy. The Royal Council member Vex pushed through the crowd, his face contorted with rage. "This is outrageous. Humans are barely sentient. They have no psionic abilities, no extended lifespan. They are violent, unpredictable, and genetically incompatible." The queen raised her hand, silencing him. "I have made my decision. The eternal selection is mine alone to make, as it has been. For 10,000 years will you challenge the very foundations of our society?" Vex, the council member, backed down, though his eyes burned with defiance. Queen Lyra turned to Kate and spoke softly so only she could hear. "I have watched your species. I have watched you specifically, Kate Adams. Your kind feels deeply, loves fiercely, and adapts to change in ways my people cannot. We are stagnant, beautiful, but unchanging. The universe rewards adaptation, not perfection. But why me?" Kate whispered. "There are billions of humans." "Because you see beauty in difference," the queen replied. "You came here not seeking power but understanding. That is rare in any species." The ceremony continued despite the shock and outrage. Mira placed the crystal crown on Kate's head with trembling hands. The crown immediately began to glow, adapting to its new wearer. A sign the ancient artifact accepted the human word spread quickly throughout the palace and beyond. Humans, the galaxy's newest species, had somehow captured the heart of the most desirable queen in known space. Some saw it as a brilliant political maneuver, others as the beginning of the end for the pure Azurian bloodline. Later in the royal chambers, Kate paced nervously while Queen Lyra watched with amusement. "Your people will think you chose me to gain influence over Earth," Lyra smiled, revealing teeth that sparkled like diamonds. "Perhaps partially, but there are easier ways to gain influence than taking a mate for eternity. My people live for thousands of years, Kate. Do you understand what I have sacrificed? I will watch you age and die while I remain." Kate stopped pacing. "That sounds more like what you're losing, not gaining." The queen approached her with fluid grace, touching Kate's face with fingers that felt cool against human skin. "What we gain is renewal. Your people dream and build and create with such passion, such fire. I want that fire to spread among my people. before we fade into beautiful irrelevance. On Earth, the news was met with equal parts celebration and suspicion. Samantha Wells, the president of the United Earth Alliance, called an emergency meeting. "This changes everything," she told her advisors. "One of our own has been chosen as the mate of the most powerful monarch in the sector. We need to understand what this means for humanity."